Okay. You're live. You think you're live. You might be live. Ignore some of the clutter. Yeah, it's kind of gotten a little bit overheated in the not quite corner. I had meant to do this video a couple weeks ago. Fans of this channel will maybe remember which video I talked about. I don't remember. In my book haul videos, I had not done one in a while, and I was mostly doing fiction, but I did episode 194 was about self-help books, and I can't recall if I had mentioned much about finance and saving and investments and that sort of thing in that video. It's less than 20 minutes long, so you can check it out, and if it's totally worthless, you can let me know. Because that video has a whopping 7 views, and 2 of those were probably me, and I don't even remember what I was talking about for half of it, except, you know, that a lot of self-help books are probably quackery, but I think I was talking more about the prose fiction ones like Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance and Eat, Pray, Love and that sort of thing. So anyway, several months ago, now I've already done plenty of content on minimalism and all that kind of thing. If you go to my, not my book haul playlist, but my lifestyle strategies playlist, I was really active in that sort of discussion, I don't know, a year and a half ago, maybe. And I haven't totally abandoned all of those principles, or, you know, but I haven't totally embraced all of them either. You know, it's kind of work in progress, right? And so if you go back pretty far, I'm scrolling, sorry, trying to find useful chapter numbers to relate. This one, oh, wrong one. Maybe it was more than a year and a half. I don't know, somewhere. It was a while ago. If you go, well, I had tried to do a no-buy year last year, and of course I didn't completely succeed at that. And I tried to do another no-buy year this year, and I haven't totally succeeded at that either, because I bought like 5 hats that were all expensive and some other things, but partly because of tariffs and blah, blah, blah. So I don't want to just skirt around that issue. I want to address that first before I talk about the actual book briefly. But briefly, like I said, I want to try and find, you have to scroll back pretty far, but I'm still working on it here. Minimalism. Okay, here we go. Chapter 117, 116, 114, 112. All of those. Cost per wear, slightly different tangent, but along the same topic. Chapter 88, chapter 86, chapter 85. So yeah, if you go back, it's 2 years ago according to this, which is not a really accurate count, but so yeah, a year and a half, 2 years, somewhere in there. And then I had done some more recent things on these topics, I'm sure, but like I said, if you scroll that playlist, you'll find what interests you easier than me trying to list every single number of every single video. But anyway, so the whole so I was watching this woman's videos, and she actually recommended this book, which in hindsight is kind of a weird book for her to have recommended, so I'll get into that. But she is pursuing a much more hardcore minimalist aesthetic and lifestyle than I am, to the degree that I would not endorse just by default. Like, oh, and I had put those other books in education category. I don't know if this one should be in education or not, but it's an education type how-to. So it used to have extra menu items or something, that putting it in How to in Style doesn't offer. So, okay, maybe I'll mess with this later when I finish running my mouth. But I don't want this to be a very long video because, well, two of the problems. One is I don't know how much copyrighted material I can actually read. And like I said, it's not really fresh in my head. So I'm going to go back through and jog my memory with some bookmarks and not read them to you, and then kind of summarize or, plagiarize slightly. But anyway, so this was the book that she recommended, and it cost $30 on Amazon, which is more than I usually spend on a book, especially a woman who says she gets most of her books from the library. So when she said that she thought it was a worthwhile book, I said, okay, I'll pony up and see. And he has a previous book. The title is somewhere. Let's see. Okay, it doesn't say it there. Must say it in front. Oh, The Psychology of Money. Yeah, okay. So he has a previous book that I have not read, and like I said, I've read something that might have been similar. But basically, so I thought this was going to be a proper investment strategies book, and like I said, it shocked me that she liked it so much because he's kind of, I don't know, a little wishy-washy, a little like trying to play both sides of the fence or whatever. Because I kept waiting for like the catharsis bit, and it never really quite got there. It was a lot more anecdotal stuff. But basically, he comes right out and says, well, not everything will work for everybody because everybody's different. And he kind of reiterates that a bunch of times and then gives, research to back up why you think what will be a winning strategy might be a losing strategy. Okay, might be. But if you tell me what kind of works for 80% of people, I think that there's a chance that it might work better than throwing darts at a board and hoping, So my review is not exactly the A or B grade she would give. If you're looking for, how best to get a yield from your money. And it's kind of a Taoist book more than like a Zen book, I guess, if we're going to compare it to the previous self-help, oblique 70s strategies or whatever, the new agey kind of stuff that came out. It's not exactly that. It's more, and it's not just follow your bliss and hope it all works out. I don't want to say that it's like that terrible kind of thing. Because some of it is definitely like, okay, it's interesting that this study exists and it says, like buying the less expensive thing can actually make you happier than, keeping up with the Joneses, So it's kind of more common sensey stuff in a way, but not all the common sensey stuff that is necessarily as common sensey as it should be, I guess. Like here's a chart about the value of something and how to measure that. And so I've been arguing with a lot of people on it's been well over a year since I was engaging in those videos, like I said. But, I was engaging with a lot of people about the cost per wear equations that they were making up and how bogus a lot of them are in terms of practicality. Obviously, if you buy something more durable, theoretically, it will last longer than something, cheap, and, the whole 10 pairs of shoes versus the 3 pairs of shoes and the cost and all that. But of course, it depends on the job you do. It depends on how well you treat them. There's always variables. Nothing's ever so cut and dry, and he would, and I think he would agree with that, there's a chapter, The Happiest People I Know, and these are people who aren't focused on material things and pursuing money per se, that kind of thing. Utility versus status. Again, do you need a Lexus or do you need a Toyota? It's like I said, it's kind of a lot of stuff like that. But then, like there was one part where he talks about his friends have weird hobbies that he doesn't understand and that kind of thing. And I mean, I guess a lot of people have no hobbies, but then he's talking about don't be old and afraid to spend, some of your savings to have a nice, cruise or whatever, instead of just sitting at home and, trying to make your nest egg last until well past your, grandchildren are deceased or whatever. So like I said, it's not. I mean, it's a fast read. It went quick. But like I said, I can't really know if I can read a lot of stuff. But like here's how to be miserable spending your money, and it's almost kind of like a Mad Magazine thing where like at first it's kind of inverted, but it's tips about kind of summarizing what he already told you. So you might want to skip ahead to page 205 and just read this first at the bookstore. If you go to a bookstore where they don't kick you out or insist that you buy it on the spot, or there might not be any bookstores in your area anymore, you might try the library. But not all libraries are going to have all the exact same books, but this is literally like less than 10 pages or something of that kind of thing. The luckier you are, the nicer you should be. That was an anecdote. Also about a screenwriter. I've been meaning to do another movie screenplay advice. I can't remember if I summarized in all the sports movie stuff about Bad News Bears and some of the other stuff. So hopefully it's not redundant, but maybe in the next few days I'll do that. And so those of you who tune into this, well, somebody clicked in and left already in 12 seconds. So hope you come back, I guess, whoever the hell you are. Like I said, I can't really read too much of it. It's social debt. I mean, I'll just read some chapter titles and that'll give you an idea, I guess. Everything you don't see. May I have your attention, please? The most valuable financial asset is not needing to impress anyone. What makes you happy? Risk and regret. Look at them. So you kind of get an idea. Wealth without independence is a unique form of poverty. And quiet compounding. Try something new. Again, try something new is kind of throwing darts at a board. That's a kind of chapter where I was really hoping that there was going to be a bit more. If you're going to try something, maybe try this kind of advice. I mean, because obviously, like playing the stock market is a gamble, but there are safer stocks than others, right? I mean, if you invested in Spirit Airlines, you're unhappy right now. But if you invested in, I don't know, I shouldn't say too many names that are still in business, or maybe any, because I don't know what cease and desist I might get from saying the wrong company that might be worried that I'm, trying to bring down their stock or something. The life cycle of greed and fear. That was a chapter I definitely want to address. That was it wasn't totally based on like nonsense, but it was kind of a long hypothetical. It was almost like projection, like he was accusing you of something he's lived through maybe. I didn't see that as necessarily something that everybody goes through. Obviously, he explains somewhere in the thing, the difference between like, greed and normal desires or whatever to some degree, Obviously, you're going to at some point need new clothes. Obviously, at some point you're going to need a new car. Obviously, at some point you're going to need little basic essentials, which again, the woman who recommended the book has children and does, occasionally buy things that even I'm sitting there going, I thought you were a minimalist. Why would your kids ever need that kind of thing? I don't know. So it gets kind of screwy. But then another thing that came up recently was like kind of tangential. I'm just going to address it anyway because it's my video. They were talking about free school lunches on the TV the other day, and I was like, I don't remember ever getting a free school lunch when I was young. You know, what was the secret there? And my mom was like, yeah, they didn't give us any freebies. You had to buy your pizzas and your corn dogs and your little chocolate milks for a quarter or whatever it was. There was no free lunch when I was in elementary school, and it was public school. I didn't I didn't go anywhere fancy, that's for sure. So yeah, I got another. I don't know if that's only a California thing where certain people get more privileges than others or something, or when that started. But oh, somebody else clocked in and out already. Well, welcome and goodbye, whoever you were. Okay. Well, they probably weren't going to enjoy my review anyway because maybe they loved the view or the view. Sorry, the book. The simple choices for a richer life, and they don't. Like I said, I don't know. I mean, the back cover is what you can kind of read at the store, but I don't know if I can read too much of that either. But yeah, like I said, it kind of talks about philosophy. They call it maybe psychology. But it's definitely not a invest in this, invest in that kind of book. It's a little bit more retraining your mind to not be wasteful in that regard of keeping up with the Joneses in toxic ways and all that kind of thing. Which like I said, in principle, I don't disagree. I just think it, like I said, it was a fast read, but I think it could have still been shorter if it wasn't going to provide a little bit more. Like I said, the stuff that maybe is in the other book, I don't know. So I guess, yeah, I already talked longer than I kind of thought I would without necessarily saying too much. But, I can't, like I said, I can't just start reading the thing out loud and, think that it's going to fly. I don't know, how that works. But as always, I have, the comment section. So if you have any questions, you can always drop them there and jog my memory. And maybe I can go back and give more of an opinion about a specific, passage or something if you actually, read the thing or had read it and remember it better than, I do. Like I said, I did, like I said, I didn't think it was completely fluff, but the the thing that irritates me is that I can't resell it on Amazon while it's still new. I used to be able to read a book like this, put it on Amazon, turn around and make back most of my money. Now there's no bookstores near me that buy books that I can just get my money back. Maybe I can put it on eBay. But and also in addition to the comments, of course, I've activated the Buy Me a Coffee feature if you're so inclined to get me a pizza or another book or whatever. Feel generous as you please. It's not an investment strategy. It's just showing some appreciation if you're actually watching this video for some reason other than you think I look silly in my hat. I don't know. And of course, gonna have to probably do another chapter of the Boycott Tinder series. I think I have enough thumbnails for like 10 episodes, but I only probably have enough material for like 8. What number am I at? Like 6 or something? I forget. Now I gotta scroll all the way back up. 5. Okay, so I only did 5. Okay, so maybe it's only 7 that I had. Well, I should have done them shorter when I did the earlier ones, and then I could have milked it more. But I think I've annoyed enough people with that. But the reason I'm bringing it up, especially in this episode, is because the stuff I was going to read is not even so much about Tinder, but actually about finance and relationships and stuff. It was kind of a long discussion that people were just having that I thought was actually interesting enough to do that. I don't know if I should just do that right next and get it over with. Maybe I will. So if you're tuning in here, maybe tune in again there and watch that video too, or instead, or whatever. Okay, I'm going to sign out of this one and maybe I'll just do that one.